Good morning, YouTube. How you doing? It's Max. Today, kind of reviewing what I did yesterday. So I was talking a little bit, I think, about how I was creating those healing and shopping structures in each of the settlements. So we now have the ability to go in and out of all of them. I also created a teleport key, which allows me to teleport to all the different locations. I'll show you how all these kind of work in a bit here, but increase the screen size. So before it was kind of zoomed in when you're playing. Now it kind of zooms out a bit so you can kind of see more. I kind of like a zoomed out screen when I'm playing kind of top down games. So we did that. We created a lot of status conditions, a lot of skills, weapons and armor. We created some types, and we created some weapons, armors, and magic shops. So I guess just to kind of show you, this is what I'm gonna probably use to track the skills. But for status conditions, this is what I kind of have so far. So you have the name of the status condition, you got the state number, the icon number, and then what type it is. So you can kind of group these by different things. So if I wanted to get all the pharmacology status conditions that's there, the repels. And so, like in Pokemon, repel is pretty much like it prevents you from running into Pokemon encounters. That's pretty much what this is. But I just have a different one labeled for in Pokemon you have 100 steps for the first repel up, and the max repel is like 250 steps. This one's like 100, 250, 500, 1000. So each of them is a different status condition just to mark the amount of steps it takes before the status condition goes away, if that makes sense. And then we've got the damage over time. So you got your poison, your burn, disease, and curse. I might add more. I might, this is just kind of like to get you started. You got the anti-heal, you got the deaf, blind. So blind is pretty much reduced accuracy. Deaf is pretty much reduced evasion. Is how I'm going to be kind of labeling these. Just standard kind of stuff, standard crowd control. You got your stun, your fear, your charm, your sleep, your silence, your taunt. I haven't really worked on taunt yet, but the rest should be good. I might get like a plugin for taunt. And then pretty much other status conditions, race. So um, I'm thinking about implementing certain things like, if you're going against a fiend and use this like holy kind of weapon or something that deals like, extra damage against fiend types, that's when this would kind of come in. So I might have to i- add certain elemental types. This is what I have so far, but I might have to add like, I think this is actually divine now. I don't think it's healing. So divine, so like divine damage might do extra on fiend, that kind of stuff, or undead. And then these are like elemental typings. So if you were like a earth type creature, you might take extra damage against certain types, that kind of stuff, like Pokemon pretty much. But I also have your crush, your slash, your stab. This is pretty much if you play D&D. Crush is like your bludgeoning, slash is your slashing, stab is your piercing. But I wanted to distinguish piercing because usually piercing is also like a lot of like arrows from ranged attacks. So this is a little bit more like RuneScape style in a way, where ranged is like its own category, and like ranged might, the rock paper scissors in RuneScape is like melee beats range, range beats magic, magic beats melee. So just kind of having some differences. So you got your elemental typings that are all kind of, have their super effective resistances against one another. Then you also have your melee and your ranged and your just your basic magic. So I don't know. We'll play with that in a little bit, but just kind of setting up the foundation for the states, the status conditions, and then the items. So I've got these as like the general items. So you've got everything from your HP restore, your mana, your TP charging, revives, escapes, repels. Scrolls are pretty much like your iron and stuff in Pokemon, where you like eat it and your stats go up a little bit permanently. Pharmacology is pretty much like if you use a pharmacology thing, it increases the total party healing for all items. So if you wanted to conserve, potions, you didn't want to like use a bunch of potions, you could just use like one pharmacology vial, and that would increase the healing of all potions by 200%. by a certain amount of time. So, like if you're in a battle, you could use a pharmacology vial or pharmacology potion on your entire party, and then start using healing potions, and it just like is a bit more efficient. And you can do this in battle or outside battle. So it's just a better, more efficient way of using potions. But if you use it in battle, then it just takes up an action, that kind of stuff. So just another kind of element to play around with, another choice for the player to make. There's the buffs, so your X attacks, your X accuracy, all that stuff. I don't have an accuracy one, but that kind of your X defense, that kind of stuff. And then I want to have something along the lines of like the same thing, but you can just debuff an enemy. I feel like this could be a little bit like, I don't know how much I want to play with it, but I do think it's like interesting to have items, not for like a PvP, if this were ever to be PvP, but for PvE and just getting through the story. I think it would be interesting to have like some people don't really like playing with support characters, so you can use a lot of items that can essentially just fill in that role for you if you don't want to use any support characters. So just getting a bunch of debuffs and using them on enemies, it costs a lot of money, so it's probably more cost effective to train a person up who can do all this stuff, because this would get really expensive if you relied on items for all your debuffs. But just kind of item options for debuffs, item options for status conditions. So you've got your status removal, but then you've also got status applicators. So if you wanted to poison a specific target, instead of having to get someone who has the poison spell, you could spend a lot of money on just like this one time use of poisoning someone. And this is kind of inspired by, how in like well, I don't know if this what this is inspired by, but I like the idea of like um this actually has no relation at all, but I was thinking of in Pokemon when you used to be able to use the Poke Flute to um remove the status condition, but that was more of a key item as opposed to a one-time use. So I don't really know what I was thinking of, but I definitely think that, might as well, try and, since we got all this space to work with, might as well try to see how it works, play test it. If it doesn't get past play testing stages, you can always remove it. And then similar to Pokemon, there's like TMs and stuff. I really like the idea of there being all these skill scrolls. So, how I kind of envision a lot of this working is that each character can get these different items or these weapons, and the weapons and like armor and equipment come with these preset abilities. So, you can really customize each character a lot by like, you give them a bow, and then they have all these bow abilities that come with having the bow. You remove the bow, and you get like the Staff of Earth, and you get all these earth abilities. So some characters might be better at magic than others, but anyone can just equip this staff and start using earth abilities if they want to. So with these TM skill scroll things, these are kind of scrolls that you can teach anyone any magic ability. So if you're wielding, a sword that doesn't really have magical abilities, your character might have innately learned a skill scroll with some magical abilities. So I like the idea of kind of customizing all the party members to how you really want them to play. I just kind of like that idea. It might be a little bit of a learning curve, but I think that's why we have all these training weapons that anyone can kind of learn. Then we might get some better weapons that do a lot more complicated stuff. But just to kind of teach everyone the basics of, anyone can kind of uh, wield one of these things just to start, and you can kind of play around with what kind of character you want each of the characters you recruit to do. And some of the characters might have some innate abilities and stuff like that, but just weapons wise, I like that customizable option. Same with armor. So with armor, I like the idea of there being these three types of armor. So you've got your speed sets, your tank sets, and your magic sets. And for your speed sets, I think that this is going to really, if you want a character who can still take hits, but you want them to be a bit quicker, instead of just having them not wear anything. The speed sets will help amplify their speed to allow them to attack first. They still get some protection, but the priority is to get them to move first in combat. Tank sets are against the physical damage. So if you want, you're going to be going up against an enemy that has a lot of physical attack, you might want to put tank sets on a lot of your characters, or at least have a tank that can wear a tank set that can absorb that kind of stuff. Um, that physical damage, and then a magic set. The magic set is pretty much going to be protecting against magical threats. So if there's a character or an enemy that uses a lot of magic attack, you might want to switch your tank from the tank set to the magic set. So this is kind of inspired by RuneScape, because like sometimes you would have to outfit your character differently depending on what kind of boss you're fighting. So I just kind of like that kind of that methodology. I don't know if methodology, that theory, that abstract kind of idea of kind of having to, if you want to be as efficient as possible, you don't have to beat the game. It's not going to be like a super hard game. But just like if I like that kind of like added element, especially if I wanted to include like really difficult bosses where you really had to focus on what gear you get, and that kind of incentivizes you to collect all the different gear and rearrange your team all the time, kind of thing, just depending on what you're fighting. But I think for just beating the game, it's not gonna. This is more like end game where it's really gonna matter. But it might matter a little bit to make your progression through the actual game easier. But yeah, that's just the ideas I've got for items, stats, conditions, and then I'll add skills eventually. Um, Gonna go into the game now. I think that we talked about this. I'll go into the game. You can kind of see a little bit of where we're at. So the screen's a lot bigger right now. We start in Manheim, where you can see I added all these buildings along the strip. So we've got the healing building. We got the general shop, which I think will be like the general supplies, your like potions, stuff like that. Um, your status condition heals. You got your weapon shop, you got your armor shop, then you got your magic shop. So the weapon shop is going to be more like your bows and your swords, uh, your clubs, your spears, and then the armor is going to be like your tank armor and your speed armor, and then the magic shop's going to be your magic items, so your magic weapons as well as your magic armor. And then this is just like a general residence house. This would be like the gym equivalent, where you would probably go get your quests to get the quest item of this town. And then this would be the church, that kind of is like the other quest item. So like I was talking a bit about this dynamic of the academy versus the religion, or the magic versus the anti-magic. These would be like the two kind of opposing faction buildings, and they're not really specific to any specific town. I think that, like, this one I'll probably make a little bit bigger to signify that, maybe the headquarters of the magic is in Manheim, whereas the headquarters of the the Templar is in Castleguard or something like that. But that's just kind of the what I got so far. Go into here. I have these kind of set up so you can unlock this teleporter. You can see that this is a working. It heals you up. Oop, accidentally pressed it again. And so that's the healing one. You've got the shop, and you can buy all these different items here, just your generic stuff. So your antidotes, you got your repels, your smoke bomb that allows you to escape from battle, revives. This is charging TP, restoring mana, and restoring HP. I don't think I added the weapons to these, but you can see it's pretty much the same layout, slightly different. And then you got the armor shop, same kind of layout, but slightly different decor. And then the magic shop over here. So, same layout, different decor again. I think this one has more shields and the other one has more clothes. Yeah, this one has shields and helmets. So we have that, and then we also have this new item that I kind of have called the teleporter that I picked up at the inn over here, and I can teleport to all these different places. So when I start adding encounters and stuff, it's just a lot easier to get around if I have this teleporter getting me from place to place. So you can now go into the town. I removed this kind of barrier that used to be there. Um, and all of these buildings are the same, and all of them for right now, so they all have the same stuff. Can use the teleporter again, and so just show how this kind of works for all places. So now I'm here, don't have to actually walk here, just kind of fast travel. And I think I'll probably do something with these lodestones, similar to RuneScape, where you can kind of just like unlock them and then teleport to these lodestones. Maybe you have to do a little quest in each town before you unlock them. But that's Laconia. Maybe it would be cool to do like a little hotkey for this, so you don't have to constantly to use it. But going all the way up to maybe it would be cool to also, how in Pokemon they have a little map that pops up, so it just kind of looks a little nicer. You know exactly where you're going. But we're here. Go to the key items again, and this is pretty much like how you create this kind of thing. It's like a loop system. So um, if I go into more, um, it shows more things, but then if I go to less, it goes back to this one. So it's just a basic loop. If I go into Nevermind, then it breaks the loop, and every time you select one of the options, it does the animations and all the commands, and then breaks the loop. So that's a little bit how it works. Go into Novolok, testing it, making sure it works. So, we can come over to this place. You can see all the buildings. And while I'm kind of showing off the teleportation, you can kind of see if I've done any changes to the towns. I don't think this town had as many buildings in it previously. So just kind of seeing the progression there. And then we got so what is this? This one I definitely need to do a lot of work on because it definitely looks the ugliest. I think, in my opinion, I need to make this a little bit looking more natural. And there's just so much space here that I'll probably have to just add a lot of nature elements. Um, and part of me doesn't even know if I like these like roofs and stuff because it's supposed to be natural. All the buildings feel a bit like too I guess too societal, too civilized. I don't know. Not that these people aren't civilized, but I just want it to be more of like a nature aesthetic, and I think having all the buildings kind of makes it feel less naturey. So there, and then we got like the spooky town, all the dead trees kind of tucked in along the highway, but still kind of in the woods. You can see all the buildings that have been added. I was thinking about making the religious site be this cemetery. Just running out of space in this town, but just an idea for that. Then we'll go to Mildestar, desert place. Has the big kind of like weird looking pyramid thing that I have. I don't know if I can make a better pyramid than that with the assets I currently have, but maybe as we progress, we'll make all this stuff look a little bit cleaner. But just a couple more buildings down here, and then we'll go to the last place, which is Victoria. This one, this fire that you can see up here, this is a little thing I was working out. So if you see my HP is 8,856. If I click it, then I take 1,000 damage. So this is just me kind of testing out certain things. So if I go into the healing building, you can see that. Might have to change the coding on that so I'm not constantly pressing it again. But my health is back up. Then I can continue to do this. And if I do it enough times, it should kill me. I guess it doesn't kill me beyond 1 health, which is nice. So I think I have a setting on here that says don't kill if you can't die to terrain or something. You only go to 1 health. And I thought that would just be kind of like nicer for the player, so you're not just like running around, you get hit by something and you die, and so you could just then like teleport or something if you needed to go heal. But yeah, that's kind of this what I have here. I'll take a look behind the code before we get off. So some things we added. We have these kind of things for where we're going to implement all the skills. Again, we don't really have any skills yet, but we do have items. So pretty much what I was doing here is like, you know how this is item 22. I pretty much just have it in a spreadsheet here. So if I go up to the top, you can see item 22 is the healing vial. So it's just kind of like a quick shortcut to help me see it in a cleaner way than just seeing it through this database. Um, and then if any changes go, I can update them in whatever that is, Airtable. Um, so that's kind of the items. We got the weapons, so all the training ones, so we'll be able to get those, and the player can experiment with those a bit in the early game. And then this is the armor that I was talking about with the speed set, the tank set, and the magic set. Haven't really got a lot of enemies yet, but I will probably use a lot of. I like the idea of there being orcs with a Q, so I'll probably be using a lot of orcs, just as like standard mobs. These are like troops, so you can determine how many troops there are. These are the status conditions. I think we went over this in the other one as well. You see the elements and then the races and all that stuff. And yeah, I think that's probably a good. Oh yeah, this is the types. So this is where I'm kind of defining all the elements, along with the status conditions. You also put them in here. And then these are the skill types. So uh, pretty much what I like to do is have a basic attack one, so that when I create a silence status condition, I can silence these skill types, but not silence the basic attack skill type, if that makes sense. So I don't know. That's what I'm gonna probably experiment with at a later date. These are the weapon types. So you get your melee weapons, your ranged weapons, your magic weapons, and then your armor types. So these are kind of like, the speed set, the tank set, the magic set, and then there's also shields. I wasn't sure if I wanted to have shields be its own thing or just have it be like a speed tank magic set, but I'm thinking about also having shields that are like, block against certain elements. So like a shield that protects against fire damage. So you take reduced fire damage. So if you're going against like a fire boss, you can kind of optimize your items for that. Clothing is pretty much just for any like quest clothing that you might need. Like if you need a certain piece of clothing to get into a certain area, then that would probably go under clothing because it's not really like armor. It's more for like a quest or something. And then accessories are like your jewelry and your capes and all that stuff that I might add because these are all the equipment slots. So it's a lot per character. But you got your weapon, you got your shield, you got what you have on your head, you got your back cape, your body, your hands, your feet, your neck, and your ring. Might be too much, but I figured I'd kind of experiment and see what feels like too much because the more equipment slots, the more of a headache it's going to be to balance. But it is what it is. We're just kind of we have a pretty good foundation, I think, of the world and all these different areas that are now connected. So I think it's time to start kind of messing around with items, messing around with encounters, and just kind of seeing, filling out these spreadsheets for a bit, and then eventually we'll start working on plot. Oh, I also want to get the gym leader people all set up, so the equivalent of gym leaders set up. So we'll do that eventually. Not sure what I'll do for next time, but this is just another checkpoint, another milestone down. Um, Thanks for watching. If you're enjoying this series, yeah, I'll see you next time. Bye.